I recently took a trip to my local electrical retailer to check out their selection of universal controllers that could replace my tabletop of remotes. As you can see, their selection wouldn't have looked out of place in the early 80s. So what's the solution? Well, actually, it comes from the past, in the form of this, the Philips Pronto. Let's take a look. In 1985, it was Steve Wozniak of Apple fame that created the first remote control that could operate multiple devices. Steve started the company CL9 as he became frustrated with the build-up of remote controls in his house, and he wanted to create a true all-in-one remote control that could control multiple devices. The core, CORE, controller of remote equipment, was capable of learning the codes of other remote controls, and it was the first remote control that could connect to a computer and be loaded and updated with software. This device received rave reviews from owners, however it failed to make a big impact on the market, being priced at $199. The company sadly only lasted 3 years, closing its doors in 1988. 2 employees continued the business under the name Caledon, renaming the device the PIC 100. I could probably make an entire video about this device alone. My first universal remote control was this one, the Cambridge Audio M1, which I purchased in 1997 for £79.95 from UK retail store Richer Sounds, who'd already rebadged the Remote Angel. It could control up to 8 devices and featured a large backlit touchscreen display that could change its layout based on the devices being controlled. However, sadly, it was limited to the preset layouts and buttons the designer had already put in place, and as new components became more sophisticated, its limitations became more of a hindrance than a help. So why did I need a universal controller such a long time ago? Well, my hi-fi journey started back in '94 when I was just 14 years old. I always loved music and movies, and I decided I wanted to start building a separate hi-fi system as these offered the best audio quality, and the additional bonus of being able to buy each part in stages as I couldn't afford to buy it all in one go. These old pictures taken at the time show how my hi-fi evolved between 1994 and 1998. I apologise for the quality of the images, but when I took the original photos, I never expected them to end up on a video I made 25 years later. Nobody even had the internet back then, and I'm surprised they even have them now. By 1998, I had a large selection of components, each requiring a controller and a system becoming so much more complex to operate that a single controller would be the only solution. For me, the dream would be to have a single controller that would form the heart of the system and effectively become the front end, making it both simple to operate and a joy to use. So my story today really begins in 1998, however, with this, the Philips Pronto TS1000, which at the time was priced at $399 back in 1998. I was one of the first people lucky enough to receive one of these Prontos back in '98, and I imported mine direct from America. Lucky for you, I've kept the box for the last 21 years, and today I've packed it all back up so you can see what's inside when it was new. When you open the box, you're immediately presented with a lovely 105-page ring binder instruction manual. The manual contains detailed instructions, the likes of which you never see on any consumer products today. I'm going to read a short excerpt from the welcome page. While other universal remotes confine you to a predefined list of devices, Pronto lets you add, delete, reorganize, and even relabel new devices, so it grows with your system. It can learn to control any device that understands infrared signals, from your TV to your remote control curtains. The built-in device templates make it easy to add and program all kinds of devices. Now let me remind you, this was 1998 and they're already mentioning home automation features, such as controlling curtains by the 4th page. Some of these features we don't even have really today. For those playing along at home, here are the specifications of the remote. There's a high-resolution 320 by 240 liquid crystal display with contrast control. There's a large touchscreen, 7 programmable direct access buttons, backlighting for the LCD and direct access buttons, a light sensor with adjustable sensitivity, and built-in RC5 and RC6 code compatibility. There's infrared sending and learning eyes, and there's a 3-wire RS232 serial port connector for future expandability. It's got a dynamic and animated interface, and it's got editable macros up to 255 commands per macro, and a total number of devices and macros are limited only by memory. The operating distance is 10 meters, or 33 feet. The loading frequency is up to 56 kHz. Now this one comes with 1 MB non-volatile flash memory, which retains commands when the batteries aren't present, 512K of SRAM. It either takes 4 AA 1.5 volt batteries, or one 4.8 volt rechargeable battery pack, which I'm going to show you today. And it has approximately, are you ready for this, 6 months battery life with typical use. Now when was the last time you saw a product, an electronic product with a screen on it these days, with battery life of 6 months? It was a really, really good product, this. One thing that you might have noticed, 1 MB of memory. I mean 1 MB, that's not even a floppy disk's worth of memory. And it could do up to 255 commands per macro. You could press one button and have it send 255 different codes out to different items. That sort of flexibility, this was the first product they made. This wasn't the 15th product, this was the first Pronto. And after this was a subsequent range of Prontos with memory all the way up to 48 megabytes, I think, on some of the models. For this kind of flexibility, it was absolutely, even today, is phenomenal. Removing the Pronto from the box, it initially feels lightweight in the hand. However, once the 4-cell battery's inside, its weight's perfect, being neither too heavy or too light. The soft rubberized buttons feel good to the touch, and in dimly lit conditions they're illuminated. They even have a beep which can be fully adjusted in volume or turned off altogether. On the side, you've got a backlight and contrast control along with 2.5mm RS-232 serial port. On the top, there's the infrared sender capable of firing commands over 10 meters. On the bottom is the contacts for the charging cradle to connect and the removable battery. Yes, it had a removable battery. Take that, Apple. And the final thing in the box is the RS-232 communication cable, which is used to interface with the Pronto Edit software, and that just plugs straight into the side. The charging cradle, DS1000, was a $99 optional extra, but just about every press shot of the remote had it looking super sexy in the cradle, so I had to have it. Having the remote without the cradle would have just felt somehow incomplete to me. Subsequent models all came with the cradles included as standard. What makes it significant is that this display here can be fully configured to have any display of any icon, so you can have as many buttons as you like on here, in any configuration or any layout, and it was fully backlit as well, which, you know, even today you can't get remote controls like this. The nearest thing you get to this is an iPhone app, and if you consider an iPhone a remote control, it's not really. I mean, I'm filming this on a Huawei telephone, and Huawei have a infrared sender on the phone, but there isn't a phone app I've found yet that can even come close to the amount of configuration that this had. This could learn codes from any remote control, any infrared remote control it could receive the codes from. You could customize the display using computer software. You could plug into the side and do software updates and firmware updates on it. And the battery life on it, from memory, was about 5 months. It lasted a long time. Now, it also sat in a cradle, so you could pop it in a cradle and use it in a cradle, and it recharged in the cradle, which was quite cool. But this was 1999, so if it stopped there, we'd all be a bit disappointed, wouldn't we? Well, actually, Philips made a whole range of products under the Pronto name, and one of my favourites is the one I've literally blown the dust and cobwebs off to be able to box up again and show you today. This is the $2,399 TSU 9800 Pronto Pro. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice straight away is that the box is more than twice the size of the TS1000 and it's packaged excellent. The astute amongst you will notice that there's also an empty space where the RFX 9400 wireless sender would be. I never used mine, but I'm sure it's around somewhere. Even though this controller is much more complex than the original TS1000 to set up, you'll notice the instruction manual is now a fraction of the size of the ring binder that was included before. There's also a US DC power supply and a software CD. The docking station is also included in the box, and it incorporates 2 white LEDs that give off an accent lighting effect when it's plugged in. I've vinyl wrapped the top of mine to modify the look slightly. Now, before I remove it from the box, let's take a look at the spec of this remote, and bear in mind this was released September 2008, over a decade ago. Now, the display is a 6.4-inch TFT colour display with the touchscreen. It's a VGA resolution with 640 by 480 pixels. It's LCD, and it supports 65,536 colours. The infrared has an operating distance of 36 feet or 12 metres, so 2 metres more than the old TS1000 had. The wireless system's Wi-Fi based, and it's 2.4 GHz 802.11b and G. This one supports 64 megabytes of SD RAM and 64 megabytes of NAND flash. If you compare that to just the 1 megabyte of flash memory that you had on the original TS1000, this is a lot more. Power management has power on by tilting, tapping the screen, pressing the backlight button or tapping the key, and it also powers off automatically by timeout, and it has a battery status indicator. It's powered by 2 lithium-ion batteries of 2100 mAh each, and it also has 23 programmable hard buttons and a scroll wheel. Removing the controller from the box, you can see it's much larger than the TS1000 and more tablet-like in its appearance. However, there's no mistaking that this is a purpose-built system controller that means business. On the underside, you can see the USB 1.0 mini B socket, the dock connector and the power slider. There's nothing down the side, and on the top you'll find the integrated stylus.
Who wants a stylus?
You'll also find the infrared sender and the backlight button. My remote control is totally custom to me, so if you went out and bought one of these today, it won't look like this. It will look something completely different because every remote control is totally custom to you, to your hi-fi. And I customised this one myself, used the software that comes supplied. It's called Pronto Edit. And Pronto Edit is a software that enables you to intricately change every single thing about every single button. And you can change the icon, you can change the function, you can change whether it sends one infrared code or multiple infrared codes at once. You can set actions so that it will send a sequence of actions. You can set it so that if you press a button, it will then change the display to another display. So if you, for instance, wanted to, say, press the power and then do a system shutdown, it'll do the whole sequence of the shutdown, but then it'll switch to the main screen again. There you go. And what that enables it to do is basically becomes a front end to your Hifi. And effectively, it's the main way you experience and interact with it, as it can become whatever you want it to be. Now, I'm sure there'll be some of you out there that think the 9800 is just far too big and is an exercise in excess. To those people, I have you covered with the TSU 9600, which offers almost all the same features as this one, but in a smaller and lighter package. Earlier I made a sneaky dig at Apple for the TS1000 having a removable battery. This fool packed it away and forgot to remove it, so sadly my TS1000's become a victim of the battery gremlins and has sadly kicked the bucket. After spending an entire day trying to coax some life back into it and cleaning as much of the leaked acid away as I could, I realised the tracks on the multi-layer PCB had been eaten. I haven't given up on this remote just yet, but that's why I can't showcase it fully working today. On the flip side, it gives me the opportunity to show you what's inside this remarkable 20-year-old device. So if anyone's still around at this part of the video after watching me nerd out over some remote controls, and you'd like to find out more about these controllers or any other remote, head over to the Remote Central website where you can read reviews, download the software and obtain complete configuration files for these and other remotes. You may even find my original configuration file for the TC1000, which is still sitting in the archive since I uploaded it 20 years ago in 1999, having been downloaded almost 40,000 times by other users. I really hope you've enjoyed the video, so thank you very much for watching. Bye! Did you know we're also on Instagram, EVMYT, and on Twitter, EVMYT1. As always, if you've enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please like, share and subscribe, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.